in all scriptures a unity, and through all dispensations a continuity,
which abjures all that separates and divides, and always magnifies all that unifies and brings peace,
which seeks truth in freedom, justice in love, and individual discipline in social duty,
and which shall make of all sects, classes, nations, and races one global beloved community.
Unto this church and unto all its members, known and unknown throughout the world,
we pledge the allegiance of our hands, our hearts, and our minds. May it be so.
May it be so.
Hello. I'm Charles Dumond, and I use he and him pronouns, and it is a joy to serve as your worship associate this morning. Visually, I look privileged. I am an old white man with gray hair and a gray beard. I'm wearing a dark suit with a blue button-down shirt. I'm wearing a very colorful tie I received as a gift when I visited Ghana with the UUA's United Nations office. It's patterned similar to the traditional kente cloth of Ghana. And of course, I have my bright red reading glasses. In our Unitarian Universalist tradition, we light a chalice to remind us of the faith we share and the community we create together. As the Santo Domingo family, Roger, Mia, and Sibel Cruz light our chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you online to let us know in the chat where you are lighting yours. Now I invite you to rise in body and or spirit and join me in the words for our chalice lighting. There we go. We kindle this chalice to join together in the warmth of community, in the light that dispels shadows from heart and mind. We are renewed and strengthened by the assurance of love and grace, by the ties that bind us in shared humanity. As we gather in worship, may this flame remind us we are united in spirit and held together. Now let's join Michael and the summer choir as we sing "There's a River Flowing in My Soul."
And it's time.
All right, Michael, thank you for bringing a little bit more soul into our proceedings this morning. Well, I'm always glad when we can blow open that stereotype about us being God's frozen people. So. In this community, announcements are not interruptions to worship. They are a part of worship. Each one is an invitation to all of us to show up, to connect, and to live out our values.
And speaking of showing up, we are so glad to welcome our guest preacher this morning, the Reverend Morgan McLean. Morgan is Director of Global Connections at the UUA, where she manages international engagement, fosters relationships with Unitarians and UU communities around the world, and directs programs in cross-cultural exchange and spiritual innovation. We're so grateful she's with us today.
Welcome, Morgan. And Charles, tell them about Wednesday.
Oh, gladly. Why eat alone when you could have dinner with new friends? Join us this Wednesday, July 15th from 6 to 7:30 for our Welcome Wednesday potluck. Bring a dish, bring yourself, bring nothing at all if that's where you are. Everyone is welcome at the table, and I plan to be there.
All right. And starting August 6th, I will be leading a 4-week series on Zoom called Many Streams, One Ocean, an Introduction to Hinduism. We'll be spending 4 Thursday afternoons exploring this 4,000-year-old tradition, its history, its sacred texts, practices, rituals, and we'll also find places where it meets our own Unitarian Universalist story. You can register on Realm, and the link is also in the e-news.
And I've already registered.
All right.
And all summer long, we want you carrying your camera, or your phone, more likely. This is Summer Values with 2 U's.
Oh.
Notice a moment, big or small, that reflects one of our values in action. Snap it, upload it. By the end of the summer, we'll have built a whole community portrait made entirely out of moments like yours.
We've already received some wonderful submissions from some of you that we've been featuring in the e-news and also on our website, so please continue the good work. And you can check the e-news for all the details on everything that Charles just mentioned.
And one more thing, Avi?
Yes. If you've been worshiping with us for a while and you have started to feel at home here, we would love to welcome you as a member of this community. If you're interested in joining today, the membership book will be open after the service. You can come find me or our membership coordinator, Nicole Singer, who will be available. And we would love to welcome you because there is always room at this welcome table. And now, let's move into a time for our joys and sorrows.
Take a slow breath in and let it out gently. Feel yourself here, safe, surrounded by this circle of care. This is a moment to honor the fullness of life, the joys that gladden our hearts, the sorrows that weigh heavy, the questions we carry within, unspoken. Whatever you bring with you this morning, know that you are held here in love. Within our own Cedar Lane community, we give thanks for Claire Jaycox, who retires in mid-July after more than 8 years of faithful service to this congregation. Her care for Cedar Lane, its people, its systems, its very campus has been extraordinary. She will be deeply missed. If you'd like to share a word of thanks with her, you'll find a message jar waiting in the fellowship hall. We give thanks, too, that baby Allison is home from the hospital and recovering well. We continue to hold our staff member, Roxy Avalos, and her husband, Elbin, and their little one in healing and in love. And our prayers are with Lori Funston Boyd, who will have surgery tomorrow morning. We hope that all goes well as she and Roger feel our care during this medical challenge. We hold as well those living with grief and uncertainty, those who fear for their livelihoods, those who fear for their safety, those who carry the weight of injustice, and all who live with illness or disability. And our care reaches beyond these walls. We remember all whose lives are scarred by war, genocide, displacement, and natural calamities, especially the people of Venezuela, where earthquakes 2.5 weeks ago have claimed nearly 4,000 lives, injured thousands more, and left tens of thousands without homes. Families are still searching for loved ones. Entire communities face the long work of rebuilding while grieving all that has been lost. Now, in this spirit of compassion and connection, I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and speak aloud the names you carry in your heart or share them in the chat. Together, let us hold them in stillness and in love. We now invite you into a ritual of connection. On the side table are smooth stones waiting to be chosen. If you feel moved, come forward and place a stone in the bowl of water, a sign of what you carry, a joy, a sorrow, a prayer, a hope. May the ripples remind us that none of us carries these things alone. You are welcome to come forward now.
Our meditation this morning is deepening into poetry. Sometimes something comes to you repeatedly. I have gotten this poem 3 times in the last 10 days. Somebody has sent it to me. So I said, I yield, I use it, yes. It's much, much longer. You may have seen it. Obviously, it's making the rounds. It's written by Matt Mobell, who is a movement chaplain in Minnesota, chaplain for the NBA team, Minnesota Timberwolves, and is a Christian Universalist who I think has another take on the unity of being human. So I invite you to breathe and settle in. Awe was the first church before steeples, before committees, before men got involved and started making rules about skirts. Awe was there with its wild hair and muddy feet saying, "Look, look again. Look until looking becomes love." Awe and soup. Awe and someone rubbing your back when you are sick. For me, that might be my gospel. The joy does not wait for us to be impressive, but only needs us to come through the door. Because the truth is, this life is devastating and ridiculous. So here's to the believers and the atheists and the agnostics and the people whose entire theology is just trying not to cry in the DMV line. Here's to the people clinging to faith. May we never stop being drop-kicked by beauty in the middle of a Sunday afternoon. May we never become so polished that we forget how to stand in the Starbucks line of existence with our dumb, gorgeous hearts open, feeling the enormity of it all rattle around in our bones like thunder, looking for somewhere to laugh. And maybe remember, whatever else this is, whatever mess, whatever miracle, whatever cosmic group project no one was prepped for, all of it is astonishing. That we are here, that we have loved enough to be ruined, that the moon keeps showing up, that bread exists, so pass it on. Tear off a piece of bread with your bare hands, take it in as you take it down, and then go outside and look at that moon. Blessed be.
A couple of weeks ago, I joined the UUA General Assembly at the studio site in Louisville, Kentucky. Reverend Morgan was also there, And I said something like, "Hey, Morgan, I get to be your worship associate when you come to Cedar Lane." And then she said, "Then you should write a short reflection about your experiences with international UUs."
Serves you right, Charles.
So I noted earlier, I participated in a United Nations office trip to Ghana. I have worshiped with Unitarians in Dublin, Ireland, and Sydney, Australia. I traveled with the UU Service Committee to Poland. And my former congregation in San Mateo, California, has a partner church relationship with a UU congregation in Ulay on Negros Island in the Philippines. And I went on 2 pilgrimages to Ulay in 2011 and 2019, and I want to reflect on those 2 trips. But first, privilege. I was able to do all of this because I had privilege and resources. And while there are programs to create more accessibility, we need to do more. And I'm not going to solve that in this reflection, but I'm just going to put it on the table. In 2011, I went to the Philippines with a curious and scholarly mindset. And in 2019, I went to feel all the feels. During that first trip, the Ulay Church hosted a community capacity building workshop. It included the congregation plus people who lived near the church. They went through a brainstorming, analysis, and ranking process to determine a set of projects to improve the quality of their life. Sounds like any UU church process. But their church was about a mile from the main road, along a muddy, slippery, uneven, rocky, steep dirt road, a road that our van drivers refused to attempt, so we walked. The church had no electricity or running water. They met in the sanctuary, a simple concrete building. They did have flip charts, markers, and tape. Some workshop items are universal. A comment from one of the participants has stuck with me. When discussing the need for water, she said, "I live close to the spring, so running water isn't my greatest need, but I can see that it is most important to the community, so I would rank water as number 1. We could only have a federal government in the US that placed community needs first. At the end of the process, water was the priority, and they completed that project within a couple of years. The second trip involved 2 stops. First, we started in Ulay, and they were thriving. They had built a new church by the main road with running water and electricity and a kitchen. Children attended local schools, most completing high school, and several went on to college. They had fulfilled much of their plan. Then we went on to Dumaguete, which is a bigger city. In Dumaguete, they were convening the first UU General Assembly of the Philippines. There were over 80 delegates from 24 different churches. 24 churches like the one I described, off the beaten roads, small. We had energetic worship services. We ordained a minister, Armand Pedro, who had been an intern at our congregation in San Mateo. I was feeling all the feels. In many UU congregations, not so much here at Cedar Lane, our members sometimes tell a story about how Unitarian Universalism is a faith that mainly appeals to white, highly educated people. It's an excuse to avoid confronting racism, classism, and other biases. International experiences can help change that. When you are in a worship service and shake the thickly calloused hands of someone who works the land every day, then you can begin to feel how life-saving this faith is for all of us. So if you have the opportunity, go. You will be transformed. In fact, these trips touch all of our values: transformation, pluralism, interdependence, justice, equity, generosity, and it is all centered in love.
Wow, thank you, Charles, for that reflection and the charge. Each week when we gather, we remember something important as a community, that this religious community is sustained by all of us, by our care, by our presence, by our generosity. So the offering we give and receive every Sunday is an act of love. It's more than financial support. It is how we say yes, yes to our mission, to our ministry, to the values we are called to live out together. And it is your gifts that make all of this possible, in that they sustain our worship, they sustain our programs for people of every age, they sustain our partnerships in the wider world, and they give us the capacity to keep growing in faith and in service. Today, we are taking up a special offering to give the entire collection plate to support We Love Foundation, also known as I Love Venezuela Foundation. To share more about this group and also give us an update about what is happening on the ground in Venezuela, let us welcome our own Roger Santo Domingo.
Good morning, thank you. Before reading this, I just want to remember or tell you about La Guaira, the place where most of this emergency is actually happening. My memory and the memory of probably my wife and many of my family about La Guaira is this paradise in the coast that makes, for you as a reference, I could tell it's like, like Ocean City, Reboot, and San Agustin together. It's a very large strip of beach and rocks and mountains and colonial buildings and new buildings, etc. And it was the place where I learned to swim. So my father just took a boat, went into the ocean, and throw me into the water. And so it's, come. And he was, oh my God. But in a way, I think we learned to survive that way, because I learned that if I just dive in, it was easier than keeping myself afloat. And then I appeared in the other side of the boat, and my father was so scared that he didn't help me, but it seems. Well, I wanted to tell you what I have seen, and these remarks basically are something I should have told you by heart, but I prefer to do this just in case something doesn't come out. Most of you know that, well, except Mia, who was born here, most of my family that you know, Simon, Sarah, Sibel, we were born in Venezuela. And 18 days ago, on the evening of June 24th, 2 earthquakes struck our country, 39 seconds apart. They fell hardest exactly in Caracas and La Guaira, the city where we grew up, and this town of many, many weekends. So more than 4,000 people have been confirmed dead so far. But the United Nations fears that there are around 50,000 people disappeared. And the USGS, the Geographical Survey of the US, numbers are really broad and uncertain and beyond grim. I mean, it is said that it's the deadliest tragedy or natural disaster in Venezuela in a century. I will say in our whole history, because the last earthquake was over 8 in Richter. The population of Caracas was smaller than the amount of people that is expected to be dead in this time. So, and I have to tell you more about that day, because if any congregation have to hear this, is this one. Hours before the ground took, a deportation flight from the United States land in the same coast, the same main airport. 146 Venezuelans were aboard 120 men, 19 women, and 7 children. They were taken to a hotel in La Guaira where they were going to be proceed, they will be examining their health, find their addresses, and connect their families. And they were told that they were going to be leaving the next day. Well, that evening, the hotel came down completely with the rest of the coast, and more than 100 people are still missing. The paradox, I'm very cold, coincidence, if you want, is that in Spanish, the name of the hotel was Santuario, sanctuary. So, yeah, after Haiti's earthquake, just to make a comparison on how this country have changed. United States posed deportations within days and grant Haitians not only the protected status, they sent 7,000 troops, tons of help in terms of food and medicine, and, well, I won't tell the money. But this time, the flights stopped only for 8 days, and not because anybody ordered it, it's just because it was impossible to land in the runway. And so the flight records that I personally discovered last night and confirmed show that those flights from ICE returned to Venezuela just 8 days after that. And if before they were only 3 a week, now they fly every day from Arizona, Texas, Miami. You can take one in Miami at 10:15 every day in the morning. So more than double of the flights and people is being deported. So human rights advocates just are asking, treat us or give us something similar to what they gave to Haiti. So our first principle, is the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And obviously, all of those deportees deserve this, are no exception. None that is being flown in those airplanes, and neither is anyone under the rubble at the moment. But I want to tell you what I have seen now from far away, but because it's not only grief, right? Within days, rescue teams arrived from more than 2,000 countries. Sorry, not 2,000, 2,000 countries. A civil defense crew from Jordan pulled a 3-year-old boy alive 6 days after it was, under the building where he was living. And a 12-year-old named Carlos Miguel survived 5 days in the dark, rationing the light of his cell phone and sipping hot sauce. A night watchman and a whole family were rescued in day 8. And as of yesterday, and that's probably a miracle, as of yesterday, in the seaside of Caravallera, which is more to the east of La Guaira, rescuers were still digging by hand with hammers and picks towards a 9-year-old named Fabio, who has been in this building where he lived for more than 16 days. We have lived for more than 16 days, and where my sister Flor, that many of you know, has been supporting the Mexican rescue team with light batteries, solar cells, and Starlink antennas. Well, last night, a rescue worker heard noises, and his father heard him cry. My sister don't think it's possible, but they keep digging, and they are digging still. So I tell you this because you are part of that digging. When I bring this sorrow into this room, you do not look away. Your general support is greatly needed and will get to the people suffering today. From the bottom of my heart, really, on behalf of not only my family, but the people who may never know your name, I tell you this because I know you want to understand. I mean, a Venezuelan journalist who covered Haiti's earthquake 16 years ago wrote something that still stays with me. You know, the measure of our response, she said, is not what is announced, but what actually reaches people. And that ask is what I am asking today. The cameras are beginning to leave, or began to leave a week ago. The rescue teams are still digging, I mean, at least 10 of them. And the tens of thousands of families they are digging for will depend on what keeps reaching, and what keeps reaching not only them to continue their work, but also, after the cameras go, to move these people to some place where they can actually continue living. If you would like to help, therefore, we have been asking is to consider the I Love Venezuela Foundation's emergency relief fundraiser. They have a GoFundMe organized with its partners, Global Empowerment Mission and Caritas Venezuela. Together, they have raised more than $6 million so far, and I want you to hear what money becomes. You know, dozens of volunteers are handpicking or families. I mean, it's just a little bit, no more than 30 minutes, don't worry, it's okay.
Yes, I know. I know how shy you are.
Well, those boxes with food and supplies are reaching 4,387 families directly in Maiquetía, and 55,000 survivors holding, you know, their full kits. They count what arrives family by family, and there are no leaving you know, when the cameras do, right? It's a team that is really committed, and you know the QRs is there. Whatever you can give will not be a headline, but it will be food and soup and soap, and soup probably in a box packed by someone's hands, and it will reach a family. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Roger. Our offering will now be given and gratefully received. Whatever you were planning, double it.
Good morning. It is so good to be here. I am delighted to have been invited. Thank you, Reverend Abi. I am a white woman in my 40s with long brown hair. And today I'm bringing a friend with me here wearing a rainbow stole from her ministry. I had the same long brown hair, but a few less wrinkles. 20 years ago, I would sit in the back row here in this congregation when I was a member for a few years after college, and it's so great to see that this community continues to embrace people, and you just never know how we're going to come back together. And today there are a few members here and online I know who I knew when I was serving churches in Pennsylvania and in California. So it's wonderful to see our community even wider. And when I was a member here, I was asked often if I was related to Ken McLean, who had been the minister here for 20 years, from 72 to 92, right? So no, we're not related, but I do have his job now. So I continue to get those questions, yes. So as the director of the Global Connections Office at the Unitarian Universalist Association, like Ken before me, I have the great pleasure of working with Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists around the globe and finding new ways of being together. My hope is that today I'll share a few of my stories. I am watching the clock, and I know you are too. So I promise I won't say everything I planned if you promise that you will Google something that I say and learn some more. Deal? Okay. If you imagine a map of the world, you would find pins of Unitarian and Unitarian Universalist communities around it. And today I'll say UU, but I'm going to put a slash between those UUs because Unitarians and Universalists didn't come together in the same way everywhere. So you would see pins in Brazil, in South Africa, Burundi, in Germany, in Poland, the United Kingdom, Philippines, India, Indonesia, Australia, and many places in between. And each of those pins represents its own unique history, a community that came out in its own social and cultural context of this faith. We do share a basic understanding of the terms Unitarian and Universalist. Those are theological statements. They tell us something about the nature of God. Unitarian is different from Trinitarian. Jesus is not God, but an exemplary human being. And we should be exemplary human beings. And Universalist, universal salvation. God is all loving, and so should we be. We can reach out our arms and welcome. Some of these traditions have influenced each other over time. In May, I was in Poland visiting the historic sites of the Polish Brethren, which was part of the Radical Reformation. Google it. In the 1560s, they had a printing press, they had women leaders, they had an academy, they were movers and shakers. They were ultimately expelled by the Catholic Church, and they found refuge in Transylvania and in the Netherlands and in England. And eventually the Unitarians that emerged in England called themselves Socinians, which was the leader of the Polish Brethren who had come from that group. And in fact, Joseph Priestley, does that name mean anything around here? Okay, we're in the Joseph Priestley district. I used to say he invented oxygen, but that's not the case. He discovered oxygen. And he came to, he's credited often with being the father of American Unitarianism, bringing that Socinian line to Philadelphia and to the Mid-Atlantic. And we used to be part of the Joseph Priestley District. We honor him with that name. Here in the United States of America, Unitarians and Universalists were distinct groups that emerged in the late 1700s, and they ultimately consolidated not until 1961. In the United Kingdom, the first Unitarian service was held in 1774, and the British Unitarians merged with the Free Christian churches in 1928. And the Unitarian Universalist community in Brazil formed online 2 years ago. So we are all over the map, all over history. We don't have a worldwide pope, which is good because it would be me, and I do not want that job for sure. Right? I could do with a cool hat, though. Yeah. We don't believe the same things. We would get a cheese head because I'm from Wisconsin. So I used to also say that we're siblings in faith, and you know what? Now I say we're like second cousins in faith, second cousins twice removed. We have lots in common, but it's actually the things we don't have in common that makes for such a meaningful experience. My learning is that around the world, Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists are yearning for connection, for opportunities to deepen one's own faith and to be in relationship with one another. And my own Unitarian Universalism is deepened every day by being in relationship with these communities. I loved hearing the bells from your partner church today, such a wonderful way to honor that relationship. And so I wonder, I'll say a little bit more about Transylvania, but it can't just be Charles who has met Global UU. So I know there's partnership people here. Would you just raise your hand, keep your hand raised if you are part of the partner church committee, or you've visited the partner church, or you've spoken with them on the phone, or maybe some people came here and you remember visiting them, or you saw the youth choir that was here a year ago, or maybe you were in other places. Okay, keep your hands up, because you don't even have to Google. You can just talk to people during coffee hour and find out something about what it meant to be in relationship with those folks. In Transylvania, there was a Unitarian king. I think it's the first and only Unitarian king that I know of. And under his rule, we meet Francis David, the most famous Unitarian in Transylvania. In 1568, Francis David represented Unitarianism at a debate in the town of Torda in Transylvania. King John Sigismund, that Unitarian king, then would sign the Edict of Torda, guaranteeing religious freedom to Catholics, Lutherans, Calvinists, and Unitarians. In 1568, this was really radical, a very far-reaching religious toleration law proclaiming that faith was a gift from God and that no one should suffer at the hands of others for religious reasons. Of course, we know all too well that religious freedom is not a given. And the Edict of Torda wasn't all-encompassing. Notably missing from this law of religious toleration was Orthodox Christians, Jewish people, and Muslims. These lessons we're still learning, aren't we? Transylvania was Hungarian for at least 1,000 years. And then it was given to Romania at the end of World War I. And our Unitarian cousins in faith were ethnically Hungarian, found themselves strangers, foreigners in their own lands. And after World War II, Romania fell under Soviet communism, and the lands were taken by the state. And still today, some of the churches are still fighting to get all of their lands back. There are about 150 congregations there in Transylvania, and about 50,000 people who are part of those communities. They have a bishop and a catechism, a set of defined beliefs with over 100 points that young people are expected to learn. And in one of those points, the question is, how do we understand God? And the answer is, we perceive God as soul and love. God is spirit, and they that worship God must worship in spirit and in truth. The Unitarians in Transylvania have worshiped in spirit and in truth for 458 years. They have never given up their identity or their commitment to Unitarianism. And the strength that they demonstrate and the love that they have for each other is something I carry with me every day. In March, I had the opportunity to visit another Unitarian community in Northeast India. I was supposed to have a great traveling companion, but I got a phone call the night before my flight that Abi couldn't join me because Reverend Abi is one of the UUA ambassadors to India, and I have such a pleasure of working with him in these communities. That chalice lighting comes not from Northeast India, but from the south, from a church in Chennai that dates their founding from 1795. Google it. I want to tell you a little bit about Northeast India. Northeast, if you picture the map, India is sort of diamond-shaped, and then there's a region of northeast of that diamond, north of Bangladesh, south of Nepal, and that's where you'll find the state of Meghalaya, where the Unitarian Union of Northeast India started in 1887. There was a man, Hajam Kishore Singh, who had been raised within the context of Welsh Calvinist missionaries came into that area, and so there was Welsh Calvinism had taken over that part. But that region of Northeast India was Hinduism was never the dominant religion in that region. And instead, the indigenous religion had the belief in a creator God. And so this kind of was met easily. The Welsh Methodist missionaries were met easily there. And Hajam Kishore Singh began to ask questions as a young man, reading the Bible for himself, looking for an articulation about the nature of God and the nature of Jesus. And he began to articulate a belief that he would then call Unitarian after he learned that word from William Ellery Channing, an American Unitarian minister in Boston. Hajam Kishore Singh's idea of God is this: one God, one church, one people, one mission, love God, love friends, live a blessed life. On September 18th, 1887, Hajam Kishore Singh led the first Unitarian service in his home with 3 people in attendance. And he also started a school because education was a central piece for him in encouraging one's own pursuit of truth and faith. Today, there are 35 congregations in Northeast India, and 33 of them have their own school. When I was there, I loved seeing church buildings adorned with giant chalices, one that glows neon in the night, and seeing the ways that the community comes together and cares for each other. On Sunday in July, the biggest church there, they have church 3 times a day, so you can be grateful. Sunday school is at 10, and then regular church is at 1, and then there's house church in the evening where a different person hosts a service every Sunday night and makes tea and some snacks for their church friends and neighbors. And there's a homily and prayer and singing and a beautiful coming together with hospitality and joy. The motto of the Unitarian Union of Northeast India is Tu Nangroi, or keep on progressing. I was invited to fly from India to Cape Town, South Africa, which is a 17-hour flight this way around the globe. And I wasn't able to make that trip, but it was because the newly emerging Pan-African leaders, Unitarian Universalist leaders, were having a gathering as they're coming together, a congregation in South Africa, Burundi, Kenya, and a few other places emerging, coming together, discovering that they have pulled on Unitarian Universalism from us, from the UK, from other places, and now they're trying to define the Africanness of their communities, what it means for them, what is alive in for their faith, for this moment of time. And they are starting to articulate this with Ubuntu, this spirit of I am because you are, and that Unitarian Universalism offers this opportunity in Africa to bring together languages and cultures and indigenous religions and spiritual beliefs in a real, authentic way of celebrating everyone's own spiritual journey. I hope I get to go in September when they have their next meeting in Nairobi. And Charles shared a little bit about the UU Church of the Philippines. That was founded in 1954. There was a man named Reverend Toribio Kimata, and he had been a Christian minister, and then he started to articulate universalism for himself, and he started a universal church. He was at the time serving himself 9 different congregations, and so those 9 congregations were the first of the UU Church of the Philippines. Very quickly, it grew to 21 congregations, and today there are 27, and they have a goal of 50 by 2050. Today, the UU Church of the Philippines is Unitarian Universalist. We have a long, interesting, unique relationship. You know what I'm going to say? Google it. And the UU Church of the Philippines shares the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism, but they added an 8th and made it first. And that is that there is a God, and God is love. The UU Church of the Philippines embraces LGBT members and leaders. They engage important conversations together with passion and respect. Most of the ministers are volunteer positions who volunteer to commit to ongoing learning and community building. I could go on, I won't. For me, it has been life-changing. I know that might sound overdone. But to see the way that people express their faith, these second cousins of ours, that live their values, which we share, and it has been a daily invitation for me to think about what my values, what my Unitarian Universalist values mean in action, in relationship with these global UUs. I see patterns of American tendencies, you might also say Western or capitalist or colonial tendencies, that do not foster equal relationships. Americans can be bossy. Yeah? I heard, yeah. We have this sense that we know what's best. We can fix it. And if we throw some money at it and build a building, for sure that's all that's needed. And my reflecting is that Americans have been exceedingly generous, and truly lives have been transformed, and yet this bossiness has not allowed equal relationships. So my learning is to listen more, to listen without making suggestions, because I have opinions, And I can be bossy. I can influence a decision intentionally or unintentionally. And so I have to intentionally step back. I believe if we let go of being in charge, and if we let go of thinking that a spreadsheet can tell us everything we need to know, then we will truly be in more mutual, more meaningful relationship. How many of you have been part of a mission or strategic plan process? We love, I know, I see, Kathy just did this. We love strategic plans, and we Americans think that you can lock us in a room for a weekend and we can make a 5 or 10-year plan, and we can come up with metrics and due dates. And what happens when new people come in the room? What happens when the world changes? How do we make space for relationships? How do we center relationships, meaningful connection over outcomes? I'm really proud that this has been the focus of what's emerged of how we do global UU community now. Some of you know, because of your partner church, there was an organization called the UU Partner Church Council. There was another organization called the International Council of Unitarians and Universalists. And those two organizations did tremendous work for decades, learning different communities and getting to know each other. And they found themselves needing to be intentional about stepping back and letting new ways to emerge. And they made that brave decision in 2022. And they left fertile ground, meaning their power, their money, their email list, to form the UU Global Network, which is imagined to be more of a collaborative space, not a program-making body, but a place where anyone can come together. Its leadership team is made up of people of varying levels of experience. Half of them are under 40. All of them are committed to their own faith communities and to being creative thinkers ready to step back or step up when needed. You can get connected with them. Google it, UU Global Network. They have a website, a Facebook page, a Discord server. If you don't know what Discord is, it's because you are over 30. But Discord is where people under 30 build organic community, and anyone is welcome there. And you can start your own thread if you want to start a thread that you're going to start speaking in Spanish, or you want to share German language worship resources, or you want to talk about how to knit a chalice. There's lots of opportunity for creating our own ways of being together. There is also, on those websites, just to give you a teaser, there is a 30-minute global worship that we put together just last month. And it's really worth watching. You'll get introduced to some of the communities and get to hear from people. This is the work of Global Connections at the Unitarian Universalist Association. We get to be a big supporter. We have a lot of financial resources, a lot of staff resources that we are intentional with, not to show up to give us a weightier place in the vote, or that we get to set the direction, but that we get to be ready to make this happen when people are ready to lead. Of course, the world has offered us things like Google Translate and Zoom. I don't know if you know this, but Zoom can do translation when you have to pay, I think, $5 a month. And when you speak, the person can choose from about 30 different languages that you can read the captions. So it's just opening up ways for people to express themselves in their own language and be in true community. The human experience is necessarily unique and imperfect and ever evolving. And we are changed by people and ideas every day. Each person in this room, let alone around the world, will have a different understanding of God, love, humanity, and how those concepts interact with our lives. And each person in this room and on Zoom and around the world have so many stories to tell, so much beauty and complexity to add to our communities. I'm grateful that you are here in this room sharing your beauty and complexity, and I hope that you have an opportunity soon to connect with the beauty and complexity of Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists outside of our country to form our truly global faith. Thank you for having me here. Thank you. Thank you. Should we sing about it? We're going to sing, so you can rise in body or spirit, and it's building a new way. I'll invite you to have a seat and hear this benediction from Webutsa Najamana, the founder of the Unitarian Church in Burundi. He was persecuted for his beliefs and in 2015 fled the country, and he now lives and preaches in Canada. I am grateful for the faith that reminds me all the time to have faith in the human capacity of building a more just and fairer world. To have faith in our responsibility as we live in this place. To have faith that many possibilities that God has for us, and to be open to freely embrace them. May it be so. Beautiful. Born and raised in Africa. room.